The National Policy Conference on Early Childhood Care, Education and Development, ECCED, which will be held on the 9th and 10th March 2022, is organized by the Collaborative Action for Children in Kenya initiative.
It's the first ever, and we're excited to bring together civil society, government, county and national level, funders, daycare and childcare entrepreneurs, and hopefully we can have discussions and perspective from children themselves. The most exciting part of this conference is the multi-sectoral nature, interdisciplinary approach. We're bringing everybody on board, the private sector, the government, both at different levels, and the community, the implementers of policy, and the contributors that have, ever since been left out of the conversation on developing proper regulations, standard guidelines, laws, and policies in general that affect children. And then we would like to emphasize on financing, partnerships, children who are left from the conversation in special circumstances, those in conduct or in conflict with law, children with special needs and disabilities. So it's a conversation that we must all have.
During the 2 days conference, the following sub-themes will be discussed: nurturing care framework, partnerships and coordination, inclusion, workforce development, financing, investing, and budgeting.
We are in Kajiado County. We are currently working in 3 sub-counties. One, Ngong sub-county, which is Kajiado North sub-county, Kajiado South, and Kajiado West. We are running programs in 4 areas. 1, early childhood; 2, education; 3, health; and 4, economic strengthening, mainly focusing on women. I'm very happy to be part of this conference, a very important conference, the National Policy Conference on Early Childhood. And I would wish to thank UDHBT for steering this process and bringing and having the intentions of bringing all of us together on the table to start thinking about policy. I'm very happy, particularly because we work in the semi-arid region, and there are many challenges that are facing children that affect the quality of care that children are receiving, that affects the development of the children. And I would be happy to see policies that are really speaking towards improving the quality of children that are in marginalized regions. Of course, there are existing policies and laws, like we have the Constitution of Kenya 2010, and specific articles that refer to how children should be treated in terms of ensuring that they are developing. The Constitution recognizes the right of the child to be protected, to be fed well, to be protected from cultural practices, violence, abuse, and all that will curtail the development of the child. But the question is, when we come down to the county level, how well are these policies being enacted? We know policy development is usually happening at the national level. How then do we ensure that counties where early childhood is developed are also in line with what has been developed at the national level?
The conference is founded on credible research on matters early childhood care and development.
The work that we've been doing on childcare service provision so far has revealed 3 important gaps. One of these gaps is in the quality of childcare service provision. you find that particularly for women in informal settlement settings who need to go out to work to look for a daily living, they need to leave their children in these facilities, and many of these facilities are of poor quality. And when you're thinking about quality, you're looking at the space within the facility, you're looking at the lighting within the facility, you're looking at the general infrastructure. You're asking yourself, are these children staying in an environment that will promote their optimal development? That is one issue we have highlighted, and this is one of the issues that we need to consider as we think about moving the childcare sector forward. Another issue that we've uncovered through our research is the responsibility gap for the childcare services sector. When you look at the children who use these facilities, many of them are between 6 months and 5 years. When you ask the Ministry of Health whether they are the ones responsible for this sector, many of them will tell you we are responsible for the health of these children. When you ask the Ministry of Health whether they are responsible for this sector, they will tell you they are looking after the educational needs of these children. So this means that the childcare needs do not have a specific ministry that looks after the different issues that come up. And that is a very big issue that needs to be considered in the discussions that will go on during these conferences, because one of the things that will move forward this sector is if we have a responsible ministry taking care of the needs that arise in this sector. The third issue that we have highlighted through our research is the poor or limited budgetary allocation to this sector. Many of the facilities that we have visited, particularly in informal settlement settings, are run out of people's homes. You find somebody converting 1 or 2 rooms within their homes to be a childcare facility. These providers need support, and the support that they need can come in form of a capitation grant that would enable them to enhance the facilities that they're providing the services from. And also, the budgetary allocation can go towards improving their own professional capabilities, because you find many of these childcare providers are not professionally trained and are not really in a good place to provide optimal childcare services.
We have noted there is a gap in terms of funds allocation towards the software that happens at county levels. We know that a lot of funding has been allocated at county level towards infrastructure development, but we feel that there is more to be done for teacher training and capacity strengthening. There is also more to be done in terms of provision of teaching and learning materials, quality control, and monitoring and evaluation of what happens during early learning. And for us, I think being able to advocate for a portion of the money that is going to the counties to be allocated towards the software, that is teacher training, monitoring, evaluation, quality control, and provision of materials will be a very good and strengthen what happens in the infrastructure that has been built by the counties.
The one-of-a-kind policy conference plays a significant role in advancing Kenya's ECCED legal reforms in the era of devolution.
Why the national conference is the government of Kenya is at its second phase of it's at its second phase of devolution, where ECD has been devolved. There has been a lane focus for preschool, but with our operation, there's that lane focus for children who are 3 years and below. So the policy is coming in at an optimum time where there's need for an integration. Significance to our as a supplier in offering early childhood care and education for the childcare micro business individuals is that we One, to cite an example, is issues of licensing. Because of the disintegrated government units, that gives us a challenge in who to approach to just on that front. But over and beyond that, there is need for a concerted, integrated approach from all the stakeholders, be it the government, be it the government or the private stakeholders.
This conference is it's a national conference on policy regarding ECCED, and I think it is very timely because being one of the officers who are charged with the responsibility of early childhood education in Nairobi County, I would say that policy is a very key function, because without policy or without legal reforms or without law, we are not able to anchor anything, or to anchor our functions, our mandate, our responsibilities on a vacuum. We have good laws, yes, but we admit that we have some limitations. So we would say that the conference is coming in handy because it will ensure that the environment is anchored, the environment of early childhood care and education is anchored on law. We've had engagements with stakeholders regarding policy framework, and I would say that this conference is speaking directly to us because through a collaborative action that we have with our stakeholders, we are coming up with regulations for childcare facilities in Nairobi. We have an act, it is called Nairobi City County Childcare Facilities Act of 2017. However, we are not able to implement the act because we lack regulations to operationalize it. So we are in the process of developing the regulations, and we are at an advanced stage right now. And I would say this upcoming conference is actually very timely because these are the things that the dialogues that we want to talk about, that how different stakeholders, private players, public players, civil societies, how all of us can come together and ensure that at least we have, a wholesome child, a child who is taken care of from a wholesome point of view. Childcare facilities are our specific point of interest because we are supposed to regulate their operations. However, as a county government, we've been unable to do so because of what I talked about earlier, the lack of the regulations. And we are finding it that once we get the regulations in place, we will be able not only to regulate, we will be able to register them. We will be able to now tell that this one is supposed to operate, this is not supposed to operate because it doesn't meet the standard that is required for a childcare facility, because then we shall have something to anchor whatever it is that we will be able to tell the care providers that at least for you to begin a childcare facility, you must have this, these bare minimum standards. For example, you should have this particular space for this number of children. Then this space should have these kind of facilities. For example, for instance, when you talk about the sanitation facilities, the security of the children, and in this case we are talking about all children, including those who are differently abled, whether the facility is going to ensure that it is conducive for all children, regardless of their abilities and disabilities.
Be part of this life-changing conference, since your participation is the essence of good governance.
At this point, I want to request all county directors in charge of ECD, all county directors in charge of health, and all county directors in charge of finance to be able to come and participate in this conference. with an ideology to improve the lives of children. Kindly directors prepare and come and attend this workshop without failure. And I also request that come and learn. When people come together, they learn new ideologies, new ideas, how we can be able to improve our county at this era of policy reforms.
So welcome everyone. This is good for the country and most importantly good for the children, and we can only look forward to the best future for our children and our country.
There's a famous quote that says one of the best things we can do for our country, for advancing our children, is to actually upgrade our childcare system. This is a quote by Lois Frankel. My name is Gladys Gashanja. I am a journalist, and it is my pleasure to be moderating the National Policy Conference on ECCED on the 9th and the 10th of March at the Safari Park Hotel. Now join me and other ECD stakeholders as we make childcare a visible part of the economy. Karibuni sana.
To register, visit the website www.uthabitiafrica.org and follow procedures.